that's what Sinless is about. It's just like, how can I take on these things in my life and say, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to do the things that God's called me to do. And can we do it better than a calendar? Hey, everybody. I'm James Rock, and we're back to the second episode of Sinless. Thanks so much for watching the first and now watching the second. I so appreciate it. But today we're going to talk about why, and I'm here with my friend Justin, who is producing the thing over here behind the scenes. How you doing, man? And we are going to try to figure out, okay, if we're going to choose to try to sin less, how do we go about doing that? How do we trace that? I think of it kind of very athletically. When I was in sports back in the day and I was on the wrestling team or the football team or the track team, how did I get my times better? How did I work on things? And so the reason why I'm bringing that up is, again, I've gone around the country and spoken about Sinless to different camps and different things and stuff like that. And it was actually here at Trout. My daughter and I were doing a father-daughter weekend, and my daughter took the daughters off and had a conversation with them, and then I took the dads off and had a conversation with them, and I talked to them about mortification and talked to them about how God calls us to walk away from sin and walk towards life, right? And one of the dads came up to me afterwards. He was a little irritated, a little upset. It kind of took me back a little bit. And he looked at me and he said, hey, you told us what we should do, but you didn't tell us how to do it. And he was frustrated that I didn't give him more information. And I was like, well, just that thing you're thinking of, stop doing that. And even during my typical presentations, I show everybody a calendar and I say, hey, grab a calendar, and if you sin, put a check mark there. If you don't sin, don't put a check mark there, and then you'll be able to figure out how to make less checks on a day as you go, because you're trying to swear less. You're trying to watch things you shouldn't watch less. You know, any number of things that you're trying to be not as sarcastic. That's one we got to figure out if that's a sin or not. You're trying to do something. You're trying to say, hey, I'm not going to do this, and so I'm going to track it in this way. But for whatever reason, that dad is like, that is not enough. I need more information. And honestly, I kind of walked away from that conversation. I was frustrated with him in that he wanted me to make it all up for him instead of just determining, hey, I'm going to stop doing something. I'll use myself as an example. Way back in the day, I was just talking about wrestling. When I was in high school, I was on the wrestling team, pretty good wrestling teams. I went to two different schools, and both schools had pretty good teams. And one of my wrestling coaches pulled me aside one day and he said, James, you swear too much. I got to tell you this. If your wrestling coach tells you swear too much, I don't know, Justin, about you probably are swearing too much, right?
It's worth paying attention to.
It's worth paying attention to. And again, this was the 80s, so the swear words were not quite what they are today. But whatever you say at home, Justin, it wasn't quite that, right? But it kind of caught my attention. Then it just so happened within a couple weeks of that same time, we were going to, our youth group was going to Bear Lake Bible Camp for a winter weekend. And so got in a big, huge Suburban, am going to camp with friends and relatives. We show up for the teenage weekend camp. We are pulling luggage off the top of the Suburban, and one of the pieces of luggage slipped in my hand and whacked me on the foot. And at Bear Lake Bible Camp in Jones, Michigan, I uttered, well, I'm not going to say what I uttered, but it was bad. Everybody went, oh, because I just, swore at camp. And those two things kind of came together, and I'm like, you know what? I have got to figure this out. I have got to not swear like that. I've got to get this taken care of. And so I didn't use a calendar. I didn't use a chart, but I really just started to lean into the fact that, hey, I am not going to swear so much. And over time, it actually got to the point where it just wasn't a part of my day-to-day life and still isn't. Now, I'll be honest, historically, in my recent years, there is one thing that can make me swear, and his name is Cass Rock. He's my son. And on occasion, Cass can make me swear. I can't explain it. I don't know the reasons why, but it just happens. We all have issues, right? But that's what sinless is about. It's just like, how can I take on these things in my life and say, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to do the things that God's called me to do. And can we do it better than a calendar? Now, so far, essentially what we've been using is just a PDF that you can download. Me and my friends that are kind of going through this process of sinless. And basically what is on this PDF is basically 12 lines in which you can write the sin that you want to try to take care of. And then it's got Sunday through Saturday on it. And basically you just check mark if you've done that sin that day. Now, again, our goal is, can we go a day without sin? But here at the beginning of it, what our real goal is trying to figure out, hey, are we sinning? And if so, how much? And what are the sins we're doing? Now, I want to take a step back and say something really specific about this program. I don't care what sins you choose to work on. It doesn't matter if you choose 1 or you choose 12 or you choose every sin that's mentioned in the Bible, okay? That is totally up to you and your relationship with God and what your journey is. You might just be thinking, hey, James, to do that no swearing thing, that would take all my concentration every day just to pull that off. Well, if that's the case, just write one sin on this list and have this piece of paper walk around with you and keep an eye on how much you're swearing over the course of the day. Or, hopefully maybe someday we'll actually have an app that will work on that you can download, or just grab a calendar or do whatever it is with your cell phone or your computer, or whatever, however you want to try to track. Hey, I am not going to do that, and I'm going to focus on it. So 1, I know how many times I'm doing that thing that I shouldn't be doing. 2, I don't care how you score. Maybe you've been a golfer, maybe you haven't been a golfer. My grandfather was a brilliant golfer. And when I was a little kid, I got a set of little kids golf clubs. This is back in the 80s. And I went out with my grandpa to the golf course to try to learn to golf with him. And my grandpa was, a very serious golfer, to say the least. He was in multiple leagues a week. It was a passion in his life. And when I was trying to learn golf next to him, he would stand right behind me and I could hear him go, after every shot. Now, in my history of golf, I can hit the ball a really long way, but almost always into the woods, almost always sideways in one direction or another. And my grandpa wasn't capable of kind of dealing with that because I had this guy over my head that was just kind of grumpy about me even trying, okay? That's not what this program's about. Also, we all kind of look at different things differently. Let's stay with golf. As an adult playing golf, I have played with people that are very serious, that are, they golf slowly. They pick up the ball on the green and wipe it off and set it back down. They, if a ball is behind a tree, they don't just kick it out from under the tree or the bush or whatever. I don't know. What kind of golfer are you, Justin?
I'm the kind that avoids the game.
I do too, to be honest. But when I'm out there with my dad and out there with my friends or out there with business people that want to play golf, I tend to be the guy that kicks with the ball with my foot and moves it to a better spot. And again, I don't have a dog in the race. How you score yourself is really, it's your call. And so if you think a swear word is a swear word that I don't think is a swear word, how you adjust that is up to you. When I was dating my lovely wife, way back in the day, I used to say G's a lot. Calvin and Hobbes said it all the time. Calvin would say it all the time. Capital G, E-E-E-Z-Z-Z-Z-Z-Z. And my future father-in-law, I would say G's in front of him, and he would say, hey, don't say that. You're swearing. And I would like, I'm not swearing. I'm saying G's. Calvin and Hobbes says it all the time. It's G-E. No, you're saying you're taking the Lord's name in vain because it's got the G. You're saying God, and I'm like, I'm not saying God. That's not what I'm doing. And it's like, so I learned not to say geez, which was really hard. But it's funny. I caught a really big fish, and I brought back a video of me catching a big fish in Canada, and I said geez about 100,000 times in the 4-minute video of watching the fish. And when my future father-in-law watched it with me, he was just shaking his head. But it's one of those things where it's not my future father-in-law's idea of what a swear word is or what a swear word isn't. That's up to you. This piece of paper, this document, this thing that you're setting out to do, I am going to try to swear less. You get to decide all the parameters of that. Nobody else is going to do it. Now, I hope we're going to have a lot of fun over the next year when I fill this room with a bunch of people that are trying to go through the process. I hope we have a ton of fun talking about, hey, is this sin or not? For me, one of the first things that's happened is I drive back and forth to the Twin Cities from Pine River, Minnesota. It's a 3-hour drive. And I've also a little bit known for a guy that goes over the speed limit. And so when I first started doing this, it was like, now, wait a minute. Is the speed limit or not? Is that the limit? Do you go over the speed limit, Justin?
I go pretty strict 5 over.
5 over? Okay.
Yeah.
So my dad, who was a policeman at one point, told me 8 in your grate, 9 in your mind. That was his policy on a highway, and then 5 over on any back roads kind of thing, right? And so, but I've got a youth pastor friend of mine that the speed limit is the speed limit, and going 56 and a 55, that's sin. And so I'm actually trying to set up an interview with a policeman friend of mine who's a pastor down in the cities to kind of work this out on one of our future episodes. But what I'm trying to say is this is all up to you. You decide the parameters. Now, we could say, okay, we're in a race to see who can go a day without sinning first, right? But we're not. We're in a race to see who can go a week without sinning first, right? But we're not. What we're really trying to do is figure out a way, how can we sin less? And I think that starts with the understanding of how much we are sinning. So if you look at my 12 things, I've got the 7 deadly sins, which we'll get into more. And I've got the 10 commandments, a couple of them picked out, which we'll get into more. I have the Sabbath is a super key for me because I'm terrible at the Sabbath and I want to get better at it. I've got doom scrolling as one that I've decided is a sin, which may not be for you, but it is for me. My wife and I call it death scrolling. And then I put speeding down on the bottom as I started my second week to try to figure out, okay, is this a sin or not? Or where is that line? And so what you put on this piece of paper is between you and your God, just like it's between me and my God. We're not arguing. We'll have fun arguing and discussing, but how you judge, how you keep your own score, how you play golf, that's totally up to you. The goal is, hey, a week from now, will you have sinned less because you took this on? 2 weeks from now, what does your life look like because you chose to sin less? A month from now, how different is your life? What things have been affected because you've chosen to sin less? That is the whole point of this podcast. It's the whole point of this program. And I am so excited for you to join in and try to figure this out with us. If you want to get downloadable files, maybe eventually even an app, go to sinless.net. And on that website, we will have a Google version, an Excel version, Pages version, as many versions as we can get up there for you to see what I'm using, or figure out your own documentation, figure out your own way for keeping score. But I do think keeping score for this podcast is vital. We need to know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, and there's even some places that we'll talk about more in more detail later of, hey, how is this making me feel? What is happening because I'm doing these things? All right? Thanks for joining us on the second episode. I hope that gives you a great kind of basis for what we're trying to do here together.